Marvel Spider-Man 2018's DLC was pretty controversial when it released. It was a mix of Screwball's annoying challenges, the plot of Felicia, her Black Cat possibly being Peter's baby mama while fixing his relationship with MJ, and as well the entire Hammerhead plot of, him turning himself into a robot with just a head. Otherwise, the DLC, I would say, was pretty good from what I remember. It's been a while since, I played the story of the DLC. I am about to play it soon though, because if you didn't know, we are doing a playthrough of Spider-Man Remastered on PC, shameless plug, and personally I did not mind the Black Cat stuff. I thought it was kind of funny but interesting to explore the possibility of Peter being a dad and what's going through his head. And see, like, the thing about that is, like, a lot of men have had a similar experience to possibly just having a kid when they were absolutely not ready to, including me, so I found it funny and relatable. But with that, the City That Never Sleeps DLC was kind of just alright. Like, I didn't think it was terrible, but it also wasn't the best story ever, you know what I mean? The better parts of it were definitely the entire storyline of setting up Yuri Watanabe to become the Wraith in Marvel Spider-Man 2, where, if you don't recall, in the City That Never Sleeps DLC, basically Hammerhead kills a bunch of cops, aka Yuri's co-workers, and with that, by the end of the DLC, she had attempted to kill him and as well killed one of his mafia enforcers. The question now is, with Marvel Spider-Man 2 releasing in a couple months, or just under a couple months, should Marvel Spider-Man 2 have a DLC pack similar to the City That Never Sleeps DLC, but of course, improved and hopefully better? Now, I think we should get a DLC for two reasons. One, it gives us a chance to see new characters we haven't seen in this universe, and as well, maybe have a good story depending on, what specific characters are involved, and as well, the story being told with said characters. But as well, the second reason is that it could set up something major for Marvel Spider-Man 3 if that does come to fruition, which very likely it will. Let's be honest. Look at the sales and, remember, Sony loves money. The problem though is that so far they haven't marketed any DLC. We are still a couple months until the game's release, and I think they started marketing it around this time, or no, maybe earlier actually, yeah, way earlier for Marvel Spider-Man, because it released in 2-ish weeks 5 years ago from now. So yeah, maybe they won't, maybe they will. I think it would be a huge missed opportunity to not make DLC for Marvel Spider-Man 2, and depending on the ending of the game and how the game, just turns out as far as the story, I think the main villain of the DLC should be Carnage. They could easily set him up in a post-credit scene type shit. I think it should be something like part 1, like Cletus is being introduced, we get to know him and his past, maybe not everything though, like just, bits and pieces, but like we're trying to track him down because he's very dangerous, but we end up, getting him eventually. Obviously, there could be more to the story or whatever. There could be other stuff, setting up for Spider-Man 3, or just like another storyline that's just like a one-off type thing. But the rest is for you guys to imagine or fill in. I'm just giving like a rough draft idea type of thing. Part 2 could be when Cletus gets the symbiote somehow, some way. He gets free from prison, he's wreaking havoc, going on a killing spree. Spider-Man can't stop him, and we kind of end up learning a little bit more about his past and stuff like that, and just why he's so ruthless and just like crazy. And then part 3, not gonna lie, this part doesn't necessarily have to happen because it would be something we've seen before, but I think this idea suits Carnage way better than Venom. But I think it would be interesting if we could maybe see a symbiote invasion with Carnage leading it. And we did, have the symbiote invasion with Venom and Web of Shadows, of course, but I think Carnage makes so much more sense for a symbiote invasion, and that's because Venom just hates Spider-Man and would never go that far, even like the Venom symbiote itself usually. And now, like, think about it, Cletus would go that far because of just how fucked up and mentally insane he is. Like, literally all he wants is havoc, chaos, and, say it with me, carnage to happen. And what better way than leading a killing symbiote army invasion? That is, if there is nothing of the sorts in Marvel Spider-Man 2's main story, which I highly doubt that's the main story for the main game, who knows, but I think it would be a cool idea with Carnage in a DLC. And again, even though, it's been something we already seen, but part 4, obviously stop Carnage, maybe with like the help of Venom, turn it into a sort of Maximum Carnage from the comics type of story. Or, if you don't want to, repeat the entire, Web of Shadows symbiote invasion, it could just be a sort of, again, Maximum Carnage type of story from the comics where, Spider-Man and Eddie, or not Eddie, whatever, Spider-Man and Venom in general just team up to stop Carnage or whatever. And I already see some of the comments saying, well, why put Carnage in a small role as far as the DLC goes if you're gonna put him in these games at all? And my response to that is, I don't think it's a small role if it's DLC. It's more of like, you know, he gets his own story, but he doesn't have to worry about competing with Lizard, Kraven, Wraith, Venom, Green Goblin setup, Miles and Martin Lee, etc. Like, there's so many stories going on in Marvel Spider-Man 2 already, and there's still more we don't know type shit. So I think that is like best of both worlds and could work very well in a 3 or maybe 4 DLC expansion pack. And it would make sense for this game, since this game is, you know, dealing with the symbiote and stuff. I think it's a no-brainer to do Carnage for DLC. Like, you might as well as just do Carnage DLC. I feel like, because, right, like, all right, think about this for a second. Why would y'all want to see Carnage in Marvel Spider-Man 3? Because think of this, right? Spider-Man 2 is very highly likely setting up Green Goblin. Don't we want him to be the main villain of that game? And you may say, okay, well, he could be just, you know, another main villain of Spider-Man 3. And my thing with that, though, is like, okay, but we dealt with the symbiote in Spider-Man 2. Why would we want to deal with it again in the 3rd game? Or is that just me, maybe? I don't know. I feel like most people would say probably not, because, you know, again, we're dealing with Venom in Spider-Man 2 and the symbiote in Spider-Man 2. It will maybe be like, oh, we just had symbiotes for the last game, why again, or something, you know? And this is kind of interesting because I actually made a poll in my community tab saying, would you guys, you know, want to see Cletus Cassidy, aka Carnage, in Marvel Spider-Man 2 DLC expansion pack in Marvel Spider-Man 3 as one of the main villains, or possibly becoming Red Goblin in Spider-Man 3. And people did actually say, or most people said, they would actually prefer a Carnage DLC expansion pack, but most of the comments, on the other hand, said they would prefer to be him like the main villain in Spider-Man 3, or a main villain in Spider-Man 3. Honestly, only reason I don't want a Carnage DLC and would want Carnage in Spider-Man 3 is only for Norman to become Red Goblin. And, you know, like, we could still have Cletus Cassidy Carnage in Marvel Spider-Man 3 if that were to happen. But I think, like, you know, he'd probably get defeated in like the middle of the game or something, and then, like, you know, a Green Goblin fight around the same time. We defeat him kind of for now, and then, like, you know, Cletus goes to jail. They get separated from the Carnage symbiote, and then Norman's like, you know, fuck this, I want to kill Spider-Man, so I'm gonna get the Carnage symbiote, and, you know, yeah. But now, if you don't know who Red Goblin is, let me put y'all on game, you feel me? Spoilers for Red Goblin's storyline in the comics if you have not read it. Around the Amazing Spider-Man 794, Norman used his agents to infiltrate the lockbox facility that's deep in the heart of the Atlantic Ocean to steal the Carnage symbiote. Low-key some convoluted shit, but they brought it to him. He bonded with it, offering the Carnage symbiote the genius intellect that Cletus never had. Then the symbiote destroyed the nanites that were in Norman's body. These nanites were to stop Norman from turning into the Green Goblin, I think. So then, when he attacked Spider-Man at the Daily Bugle, he transformed into the Red Goblin to get Pete to retire being Spider-Man. The Red Goblin has all the strengths of both Green Goblin and Carnage, but doesn't have any of their weaknesses. It's some like crazy convoluted shit, but like, it's pretty cool though. He has some new tricks up his sleeve, like Spider-Man seeking Carnage bombs. Again, sounds ridiculous and convoluted, but it's kind of awesome if I'm going to be honest. Norman perfected the Carnage side of his powers and stuff, and like Carnage, or Red Goblin, is literally resistant to fire and sonic blast, both things that harm symbiotes. The only thing that could harm Red Goblin is actually Anti-Venom's powers, and I think Anti-Venom was Flash at that time in the comics. And the interesting aspect of this story in the comics was Spider-Man had to ask Eddie to borrow Venom to defeat Red Goblin. Shit was nuts, okay? The ending was interesting too, but I'm not going to go into that. The thing about Marvel Spider-Man 2 is that actually Martin Lee does seem to be returning, and he is actually how Anti-Venom is created in the comics. So, you know, could we maybe see Spider-Man versus Venom, then Anti-Venom becomes a thing, but before Anti-Venom happens, the Carnage symbiote spawns, and that sets up the DLC for Marvel Spider-Man 2, or, you know, just whatever for Spider-Man 3. I think that would be a really dope way to have, again, Carnage do his own story in a DLC expansion pack, or again, maybe set him up for Marvel Spider-Man 3 as either a main villain or a Red Goblin, and it also, you know, sets up a way to defeat him too. So what do you think? Do you think they should do a DLC for Carnage, or do you have a better idea for DLC and think, you know, Maybe they should do someone else for the DLC, save Carnage from Marvel Spider-Man 3, either as Red Goblin or as a main villain alongside Green Goblin. With that being said, I want to hear your opinion, so make sure to comment your thoughts down below so I can interact with you in the comments. Thank you for taking time out of your day to click on this video. If you are new to the channel, I cover Spider-Man related scoops, rumors, leaks, confirmations for Spider-Man media and whatever else I happen to be interested in. So if any of that interests you, hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 4,000 subscribers. If you want more of this type of content, leave a like on the video. Don't forget to check out my latest video on the left if you haven't already. I hope you ever had a good day and that you enjoyed the video. Until next time.